people who are giving me information and they're telling me who you are, and I would encourage you to stop it, okay? I'll just tell you that it's being watched. The point of the phone call is stop what you're doing. Stop what you're doing. Stop what you're doing.
Are you fucking retarded or something?
Look out for Charlie.
So now we know for certain that the federal government is paying different social media platforms X amount of dollars, large sums of money, to push narratives, to push ideas. We've heard everything from back during the lockdown, the stay home stuff. There's been a million different ideas that have been pushed through social media. If you pay attention, it starts to get a little bit alarming. For example, if you watch the last year and a half of missing persons mysteries, and just watch them one by one, they will mention mental health over and over and over. Another person who began talking about the mental health narrative was Mr. Ballin. He was constantly talking about mental health. Then, out of nowhere, Mr. Ballin began to advertise for mental health. Let's check that out real quick. I can't show you the video because they will get me for a copyright, but I'm going to show you part of the advertisement of Mr. Ballin. Here we go.
In 2017, I left the military, and pretty much right away, I fell apart. The military had provided a lot of structure in my life, so suddenly not having that structure made me feel like I was lost. Pretty soon, I began resenting all the people around me just because they seemed happy and I wasn't. I sort of figured that these feelings of resentment and unhappiness would just kind of go away on their own, but they didn't. Eventually, with some encouragement from my family and my friends, I sought out a therapist. And quickly, my therapist diagnosed me with depression, something I really did not think I was. BetterHelp is the world's largest therapy service, and it's 100% online. Get matched with a therapist after filling out a brief survey, and then you can communicate with your therapist however you feel comfortable, whether that's text messaging, phone call, video call, chat.
But not in person. So what is going to happen is your therapy sessions are going to be stored on a cloud somewhere, whether they admit this or not. This is what's going to happen. And it's going to be available for as many spy agencies as there are out there to make profiles from your mental health BS. And it's very strange that Ballin was talking about mental health so much and then just outright came out and started advertising for it. It's as though he was being paid to talk about it before that. And this actually happens, and here is a YouTuber who was contacted to say nice things about certain things and didn't do it. But he talks about it here briefly.
Because of the pandemic, all of them were paid by the feds, U.S. government, to promote this thing.
He's talking about the shotty shot.
How do I know? I was promoted by talent agencies and brokers, whatever, to do positive videos on it. 2 channels, trust me, this is a thing.
It's a thing. So what he's saying is he was contacted by 2 different agencies, 2 different channels to say nice things about what was going on, and he would receive money for it. Now, if you don't think that they're doing this with other stuff, you are high off your ass, because that's exactly what they are doing. So they're pushing this mental health everywhere. People are talking about it like mad. And why are they doing that? It's because they're getting paid to do it. It's all over these channels, all over them. And it's strange that it's these dark and mysterious channels where they suck them in and then they start promoting this mental health. And let me tell you something right now. What Mr. Ballin, your shrink, or your medical doctor will not tell you beforehand is that anything on file can affect your rights as a citizen. What you put in your body, what you say and do can affect your rights as a citizen. And if you don't know about that, you better research it. They'll never say that. So don't you think it's a little bit dishonest to come out? They want everybody talking to a shrink. Now in 5 years, they're going to say, hey, you can't own this if you are depressed. You can't own this if you've ever taken a SSRI. It can go hardcore. And people have no idea what they're getting into. It's a little bit dishonest not to warn people beforehand. For example, if you have a PPO, a restraining order against you at any time by a spouse in many, many states, possibly federally, you cannot own a pew-pew. Think about that. Every time there is a divorce, one lawyer pushes one person to get a PPO against the other person for optics. It's always for optics. What they don't tell you is that this person's rights are going to be restricted forever after that. They never tell you that. They never tell you all about this stuff beforehand. It's always after the fact. And the same thing goes with the mental health crap. It's the same thing. They are setting people up. And this ties back to the Dr. Phil video. The whole episode about how all these fungus, Shilling, and graphene can operate as a dirty board. I started digging into Dr. Phil. First off, Dr. Phil is not a real doctor. He is not licensed to practice anything in California. He's basically an actor, and that's it. Period. People start getting into this and start looking it up. There's all these troubled teen facilities, right, in Utah. You know, almost like the old school back and control training centers that they had. They're just like the child prisons and the prisons that they have. They are paying people to push people their way. Therefore, while Dr. Phil is a real doctor in the sense that he has a doctoral degree, he's legally about as useful as someone with a PhD in philosophy when it comes to treating people with mental illness. What they're getting at is he is a fraud. Now, I dug even deeper, and through some very, very in-depth keyword searches, I found some things that people might not want seen. And my idea in the beginning was, it seems and it appears that Dr. Phil is somewhat similar to all these different platforms. He's similar in the sense that he seems to be a talking point platform for the federal government. These ideas and these narratives are being pushed on the Dr. Phil show. It doesn't seem to be real. The last video that I showed you did not appear real to me or legitimate. Now, they're either doing that or they're getting very stupid people that don't know anything about anything. However, I was debating these and I found this. And this is a video that talked about what does Las Vegas and Dr. Phil have in common. Now, this is a girl being interviewed after the Vegas incident, right?
Started shooting, everybody thought it was like fireworks or something at first, and everybody...
Now listen to her voice, pay attention to her face, because this is the same person.
Tried to stay down, and every time like a group would get up to try to run away, and it just kept going on.
This is the same girl.
My world
right
revolves
here.
around me, completely.
That's
that
her.
whole thing with the mischaracterization. You made me look horrible.
Is this a mischaracterization of her?
That is her. That is the same girl.
Started dropping around us, and everybody... You made me look horrible.
Is this a mischaracterization of her?
No. Characterization. You made me look horrible.
Is this...
People just started
That
around
is the
us.
same girl. The same girl. Now, I can't show you any of the Dr. Phil show, but it shows her cleaning the house, right? Obsessively cleaning this house. And this might not even be her real house. They might have had a house set up when she goes out to LA to do what you do at home, you know, and we'll film you doing this. I highly doubt they sent a camera crew to, you know, Ohio, Kentucky, or Wisconsin, whatever the hell they're from, if it's real at all, and had them do the things they do all day. It's just insanity. And what they did was they talk about everything that I've ever talked about on this channel. The fungus, the particle expulsion treatment. She talks about the rust, the Shilling thing showing up on objects in her home. She talks about shock sensations, zaps, etc. Then they weave in aliens, gang stalking, which has absolutely nothing to do with radio frequency weapons. They are two totally different things. Even if somebody is experiencing both, they are two totally different things. They have nothing to do with each other. Giant cat people hybrids, planes and helicopters following her. They weave in insanity. And Dr. Phil stays on these things because he cannot blame the electrical zaps and other sensations on delusions, but the producers still had to throw all that crap in. It's insanity. So they also had to mention YouTube videos over and over. The term YouTube videos and YouTubers. It said that over and over. These are key talking points, and it makes no sense. On top of all this, think about this. These people have to go home after that from their small town, and they have to go home after the show and be the crazy people? Who would do that? And if you are real, contact me, because at this point I've already found one actor that was on the Dr. Phil show. So I really want to know if this person is legitimate or not, because I don't believe it at this point. I've had a few different people watch this, and at first they thought it was just a hit piece with stupid people, and then by the end of it they were teetering on whether it was a hit piece or an actor put in there to form a hit piece. But that just shows that they're paying attention, they're keeping tabs, and then they do all this stuff. You know, it was around the same time that they came out with the Havana syndrome and all that crap. And people thought that that was going to open the doors to their cases being heard. And I knew that was bullshit from the beginning, and that's exactly what everybody got out of it. Nothing. I have studied radio frequency weapons, ELF weapons, and these fungal skin infections, along with the artificial tinnitus, for over a decade. Intently for over a decade. The funny thing about this is the entire Dr. Phil episode seems to be telling people, don't listen to YouTubers. They don't have the credentials or the experience to tell you what is really happening, right? But the funniest part about that is they found out that Dr. Phil has basically the equivalent of a doctorate in philosophy. So he doesn't have the right to be telling anybody anything. This is a clown show, and I 100% believe that it's just a platform for talking points that they want to talk about. Exactly like they've been busted paying these people to talk about certain things over the years. Now, another thing, throughout this whole episode, this couple has, I'm going to be a little bit harsh here, they throw off weak vibes. She says over and over, I'm suggestible, I'm weak. She's basically saying, I'm weak. The husband, it throws off these really weak vibes throughout the whole thing. Then if you watch the episode, in the middle of it, he only pipes up one time, all right? And that's when she's talking about some minister she was talking to online, you know, the YouTubers, right? He pipes up and he goes, hey, can I just add, was that the one that asked for money up front? So he had a cued line, one cued line to come in, and if you watch it, you'll be able to tell that it was a cued line and it wasn't even natural. He was told to throw that in there when she starts talking about that. It's fake, and I'm calling it as fake. I will eat my words if this person can contact me and 100% prove that they are real. I will eat my words. Otherwise, this is fake. And while we're on it, there were people who were beginning to grasp that there was an epidemic of this beginning to happen in the U.S. And it had been happening to people, citizens of the United States, for years and years and years, especially after 2001. Once the Patriot Act was signed, people started getting hit with this left and right, left and right. They were being sensitized to it, all right? Then Havana syndrome comes along and takes over the media. And this is a handful of people when there's an epidemic going on in the United States. And this handful of people makes it look like they are being attacked by Cuba or Russia or China or some creepy commie somewhere, when the majority of people being hit with this weapon, or the majority of people sensitized to this weapon, because it's a field, not a beam, are being hit here in the United States. The whole thing was an operation. So it brings it up, it's soft disclosure, but it says it's the bad guys doing it. It's total bullshit. I mean, that alone tells you how far they are willing to go to cover something up. A handful of people get hit for 30 seconds and claim brain damage, and there are thousands and thousands of people in the United States that are hit with this 24 hours a day. And if they're not hit with the weapons outright, then they have other symptoms, symptoms of sickness, depression, of chronic fatigue, or they have artificial tinnitus 24/7, you know, or some shit like that. There are so many people that are affected by this, and a handful of people run away with the prize and millions of dollars. I mean, think about that for a little bit. Just think about it. Now, why isn't Dr. Phil telling the Havana syndrome people that they're delusional as well? Now let's change the subject. Everybody who has donated, you have sincerely helped me through a really rough period, and I seriously appreciate it. You have no idea how much you've helped me. It's been amazing. It's been a crazy year, and the end of this year has just been absolutely nuts. But I'm looking forward to getting back into this. The problem that I'm having is that the platform is becoming very constrictive on what I can talk about and what I can't talk about. So I'm looking at different avenues. I'll still do this, but I'm looking at different avenues to remedy that so that I'm not constricted. YouTube has a majority of my subscribers. I can't just bail on it. But what I want to do is I want to start changing the format and how I go about this. And I will get back to you on that. I really want to restructure this when I come back so that it can be a little more interactive. I'll be talking about that in the near future. And that's it for now. Look out for Charlie. That's it for now. Look out for Charlie.
Oh man, I like this kid. This fucking guy's crazy.
Look out for Charlie.
I want that son of a bitch dead. I want him dead.